Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I'm out here at the site where we built the Eastern Woodland Wigwam style shelter at the last Bushcraft 101 class. And what I want to show you today is a couple things you might not know about the hickory tree. And both of these pieces of wood here are hickory. One of them was collected 3 days ago. This one was collected about 5 minutes ago. And two things that people don't realize about hickory, besides everyone knows that axe handles, tool handles, bows, things like that are great when they're made of hickory. Most axe handles that you buy are either made from hickory or ash. What a lot of people don't realize is that hickory inner bark makes one of the strongest cordage materials in the eastern woodlands. Much stronger than poplar, much stronger than basswood. And if you have to make a bow drill fire with natural cordage, hickory would be what I would seek out. If I were trying to make withies to tie things off with, you can use poplar barks for those things, but hickory will be much stronger. The other thing about hickory is, because it has such a fine, tight grain, and it's a longer grain wood, you can shave it very good with the back of your knife to create tinder resources for starting fires. So let's talk about those two things today. And once you've stripped a piece of bark off of here, if you take an anvil log like this and just get it in a stationary position and lay your knife on the log and basically hold the knife in a stationary angle, almost like a cheese grater, you can come in here and adjust your angle downward to pull the inner bark away from the outer bark. So you're stripping that outer bark off the outside, leaving yourself with only the inner bark. And if you've got a little stuff left on the outside, you can just come in and fine shave that off. That's not a big deal. And then at that point, you can break this down even further with your knife, depending on how you want to do this. You can break it down further and further and further to get down to finer fibers. And cordage is a very simple concept. To make cordage, all you're going to do is twist the fibers in one direction. So you would twist it, in this case, away from you like this. And then you would take both fibers, and if you're twisting away, you would take both fibers, reach down just like this, and twist the whole bundle towards you, which puts the untwisted one, or the one you didn't twist, on top. Twist a couple times and go. Twist a couple times and go. And like this, over and over again, and you're just going to build up muscle memory. Again, you can twist multiple times to get the cordage tighter, or you can just twist it over once and bring it around, away and toward me, away and toward me. I've got a two-part video on this on my channel already, but this stuff makes some very, very strong cordage, and even just without even tying it together, it's very, very strong stuff. You can tie this stuff in knots, and once you make cordage out of it, it's going to be even stronger. You can tie it in a knot, and you can't even break the knot. So this stuff makes really, really good cordage. So that's the first thing we want to know about the hickory. Okay, on to step 2 here. Get this wet bark off our knife blade here. All right, I've got two pieces of hickory here. I've got the one that was cut, and I've got the one that was cut just now. Either one of these will shave very finely with the spine of my knife. I can come in here and I can get fine shavings off of this very, very easy with my knife to create a tinder type material. Now, here's the caveat to this stuff. Even though this is wet and green as it comes off of here, it will dry very, very quickly. If you have a sunny day, you can dry this out and hit this with a ferro rod very, very quickly, and it will still take the spark from a ferro rod or open flame from matches or lighter or something like that and catch fire. And you can see this thing is still soaking wet. I can feel the wetness on my hand from where I just peeled the bark off of this piece. But I can get some really nice fine shavings on that thing, and this is much faster and easier than messing with feather sticks to get that stuff. And then I can just collect all of that stuff up, pull it off of there. I can already feel it drying. As I'm pulling it off of there, it's starting to already feel dry. I would just about be willing to bet without much of an effort, I could probably get this to go up with a ferro rod as it is right off the tree, even being green. In fact, I'll put it down here in this pit, adjust the camera so we know there's no shenanigans going on, and we'll give it a shot here. Grab some of this stuff that's on the ground around it. You can see those fine curls that that sharp spine of that garbird makes with that material. Fluff it up a little bit. Right there's where the grain's coming up at a knot. So I just turn the piece around and go the other way on that. You can see the mud on it from where it's wet, from where I stuck it in the ground. Let me grab a ferro rod here. We'll see if we can get this to go up. Get the oxidization off our ferro rod. Get ourselves up here close. Okay, there's some trying to go right there. It had some flame. If I'd have probably took the, well, still going. If I would have took the time to manipulate that tinder bundle, I'm sure I could have made a fire with that. There it goes again. Again, right off the tree, dead green and wet. And there we go. That green stuff to the bottom of the fire pit. I think it's going out. Now let's get the one that's dry. And you can tell there's a little bit of a sheen on this wet one. This is the one that's been drying for a couple days. And this stuff will be completely different. The shavings won't be much different as far as the consistency of the shavings. We'll be able to get those same fine shavings off this thing. They're flying everywhere because they're so light and fluffy when this is dry. The difference will be with these, because they're bone dry, they're going to go up a lot quicker. If we can even collect them. They're going all over the place, but you can see how fine those bugles are right there. I'll try to collect them all into this pit a little bit here. Get the leaf matter out of the way. A couple leaves in there I don't want in there. And we'll shave a little bit more in there while we're at it. Much faster than messing with feather sticks. Okay, that should be more than enough to show you what it can do. So now I've got this a little bit forward in the pit here, but we'll get the leaves and contamination out of it. So we've just got the shavings in here. Get the camera adjusted again over here so we can all see what's going on. Okay. Still got some smoke coming out of the bottom of this pit. All right. Get to a clean spot on our rod here. Okay, took 3 or 4 strikes there, maybe 5, but again, a very viable source of tinder there. And it does go up faster and burns quicker than the wet stuff. I didn't have to manipulate that at all to get it to burn. It's just going to burn up. So hickory is a very, very viable tinder source as well. Okay guys, well I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I appreciate you joining me for this just quick video out here by the fire pit on some of the uses of hickory other than the common uses like making bows and making tool handles. I appreciate your views, I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks guys.